they're like, it's a tool. And it's
Yeah.
Dark.
That's great.
Internet, 130,000 customers not being funded.
Yeah. That's going to be a dark feeling.
Oh my God. 3 months total, 6 months partial. 1 computer office.
Yeah, that's great.
I mean, they've done also servers and all that stuff now.
Yeah.
That's all the rumors about that.
Yeah, they were putting in a lot of hours through there. Wasn't a whole lot of snow, but
No, it looked like glare ice coming across waves.
To have the years that
you don't run, you don't get paid either. So,
updated.
On the map.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's helpful.
Yeah. We did what we knew.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a work in progress.
you say it?
It's not hard. The race that.
XCL? Yeah, at the VR one.
Very nice. Yeah, 2026, it's no objective.
If it's never been touched or even put the year it was installed,
There you go.
Because of no,
or is
No
that
scratch or anything.
that's something you just put on?
No, so he's complaining.
The original information isn't on there. So if you look at the other tables, we tried to, the tables not mapped.
Oh,
I'll
this
explain
year?
it. Yeah.
Oh,
That's where we tried to come up with the year
Right.
installed and conditioned, but we don't know everything.
Right.
Today, mental health day.
In time, I think we'll get there, but.
Pretty much all this.
I'll save that for that season.
Spring's not my time, so I'll usually work like those couple weekends in April when I'm on. That work call every 5 weeks. I work the weekend. So if I work through the weekend,
Was
I'll
there
change
any
the comp days.
sewers
So
up
they
in
can
York?
work daily. Well,
They're
not
not
for that.
that great.
Oh,
Saggy
work hours.
All the
services are
That's nice if you can do
there's
that.
some.
Pretty flexible.
It's kind of
Yeah.
all of that, just probably for compaction or something.
Right.
No, it's hard. For us, it's wintertime.
Yeah.
It's just so good.
Oh, yeah.
That makes it.
Yeah, so winters are short. I think we straight. Some of the days, like 3 months.
Probably right at a 4 weekends a year, 5 weekends a year on average.
So it's double what we can.
Yeah. Lots.
Yeah.
They usually start first of the year and right until end of March.
Yeah, there's snow this year.
No, maybe not huge. Yeah, huge stuff.
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
That ain't really been long.
Trying to put a schedule together.
Right. Yeah. So, if you put that information in,
You can put
doesn't help you, doesn't score it, so to speak.
right.
Okay.
But I'm thinking specific. I think it's kind of. I think it's that should be ahead of
A little more advanced.
Yeah.
It'd be a color line. Yeah, that would be wonderful. Oh, come on, yeah. I wonder how many ended up with them.
On the Higgins Road? Strong line.
I'm not going to remember the name there.
All right, let's go ahead and get ready to go here, folks. I have 6:30.
How you doing, Jones?
Welcome everybody to the regular meeting for the Pittsfield Town Council on Tuesday, March 1st, 2022. I'd like to have everybody please stand and join me in pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you all very much.
So I wanted to share my views very, very quickly for a moment of silence. I just wish to consider the people of the Ukraine who are in the fight of their lives for their freedom in their very country. So if we could have a moment of silence, please. All right, thank you all very much.
Mike, I think you're on mute. I think that's what Bernard saying.
Well, I don't think I can come off mute because it echoes. Let's try. Test?
That's the problem with this too.
Sorry, Bernard. I'll try to speak on, Bernard.
We know you can.
Yeah, so I've been told. I'll have to speak up, Bernard. We have some feedback. So look,
the other, can you hear any of us? You might not be able to hear any of us.
Bernard, can you hear any of us?
No. Your audio's messed up again.
It worked out well. We tested it out this afternoon.
it is on.
It is on. Yes.
All right,
I can test it again right now. Can you do that?
let's hold off a second. Go ahead.
Hello, this is Catherine.
Okay.
Yeah,
we just heard you.
All right, very good. So I'll look for most of the adoption minutes of the regular meeting held on February 15th, 2022, please.
Make a motion to adopt minutes for the regular minutes held on February 15th, 2022.
Second. Moved and seconded. Any questions or comments, councilors? Any corrections required? Very well. Hearing none, I sense we're ready to go. All those in favor of adopting the minutes of the regular meeting held on February 15th, 2022, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Unanimously passes to adopt the meeting minutes of the meeting held on February 15th, 2022. Let's move on to presentations, congratulations, and introductions. We'll start with a presentation regarding the town's budget and mill rate history. Please, Catherine.
Yes, very good. I will be brief. The council received in their package materials regarding the mill rate for the last 20 years so that you could review that information as well as other information that is pertinent. And so we have the municipal budget that were approved from the year 2001 up to 2022, the yearly increase or decrease, the school assessments that have taken place, their yearly increase and decrease, the county assessments that have taken place, their yearly increase and decrease, the mill rate, the yearly increase and decrease in the mill rate, the taxable valuation, and then what's called an enhanced valuation, which is a new item in the last 20 years in which the homestead exemption and now the business equipment tax that we are able to have is added back in for valuation. And then the assessment ratios. There are a couple of assessment ratios that are missing from the assessor's records. I suspect the one for 2006 is somewhere in the 80s. The one for 2013 is likely 100%, because we've been certifying 100% for quite some time now. So that information has been requested from the state. The mill rate changed, as you can see, went down quite a bit in 2009. There was a formal factoring process that took place, completed by the town's assessor at the time, Jim Phillips, in which he reviewed all of the valuations in the community in the different categories to see how things were selling in those categories, residential, commercial, etc. And then values were assessed, brought to bring the values up on the houses, which then reduced the mill rate. We were able to do that because we don't have shoreline zoning here. If we had shoreline zoning riverfront, that would be very difficult to do. In 2018, you'll see by looking at the municipal allocations that they drastically started to increase. We were allowed in 2018 to have additional requests that the department could file. So that was outside of the regular budgets if they felt in the departments that items should be increased for a specific purpose. And then in 2019, the town council revised the budget process so that all requests could be filed without a budget cap, because we would have discussions on having no more than a 5% increase, no more than a 2% increase, no more than a mill rate of X. And so that budget cap or mill rate cap was taken off in 2019, and then the council entertained through the finance committee and then the council the different requests that came in. And of course, as you can expect and see, that there were many requests. The requests were a lot more than the amount that was approved. And so when Mr. Sally came to the meeting and indicated that there had been something had happened around 2018-19, that is what happened. The budget process changed. So that's information for you to take home. I am talking to the state and actually Mr. Sally to talk about the town's tax exempt properties, because we have a huge percentage of tax exempt, and that does affect the mill rate, similar to Portland and some of the other communities, and how the changes in the taxation of personal property have affected the town. So I'll be talking to Mr. Sally about that and then bring that information back. He's an expert in that area, so that'll be helpful. You have another handout which has the municipal budgets that is passed out this evening and available for the audience. And we took the budgets that had the largest increases in 2022 and then followed them back to see what happened. In some cases, it was just an aberration. One department had an increase that normally didn't. And so those that had the largest increases in 2022 were followed back to see what their increases were. And of course, we can put this together for every single department. That would be several pages, and we figured you'd want to look at the ones that had the most activity. So we've got the budget that was approved in 2022 and compared that to 2021. So basically, this is the front of your budget books for the last several years, going back to 2017 on the approved budget. So you have each year, you have the increase, decrease, and then this goes back to 2017 that shows the old budgeting process versus the new budgeting process. But I think that's enough years to go back, basically. So that's information for you to take home. And then I'll report back at the next meeting about my discussions with Mr. Sally. We also checked with the town's assessor and spoke about coming into a meeting and about how valuations can be done. Can it be done by factoring or revaluation? And so I've given him some dates to look at, and then we can schedule a meeting to talk about whether we would be able to do the assessing and checking by quarters, which some towns do, and Eric had mentioned. So that's the information I have this evening. And mostly it's for you to take home and copies of for the public to take home. The pages are on the town's website and the town council package. Then I'll briefly go on to the other items on the community and economic development activities and events. There's a write-up that was on the town's website, and the councilors have that. But I did want to report on some new items that have taken place on the Main Street project. First, we have a meeting with the private sector on possible enhancements that can take place with the project. So that meeting is on Wednesday. Second, we have a meeting with the Maine DOT on their new program that's called the New Village Partnership Initiative that's just been rolled out, which focuses on downtowns and village centers. It allocates a total of $5 million, which will be matching state funds for projects at one of two levels, either large transformative projects focused on placemaking in a village center, so it's more walkable, bicycle-friendly, business-friendly, etc. And then small spot improvements like gateway treatments and traffic calming. I sort of have to chuckle about this. I remember when we approached the state about traffic calming on Somerset Avenue, we were told we couldn't do it. However, now I see we have a program in which we can, so that's interesting, and we might want to go back and look at some of those items. So I have a meeting on Thursday, March 3rd, with the planner in charge of our region to look over proposed projects and gaps in our project, in which we have piecemealed together a whole variety of grants so that we can do work in the downtown. And here is a program that perhaps we could have some additional funding for, or they might want to keep the funding for those towns that don't have all these grant opportunities. Because we have put this together with a whole variety of grants and funding from many sources. And then third, we're waiting on the assignment and schedule of an electrician who's worked on the town's electrical system for the downtown, which is Gradis from Chimbro. Our former electrician is going to be able to attend the meeting too. And so there will be a meeting with Haley Ward to pass along the information on the electrical setup in the downtown, which controls the small electrical lights, our little street lights, owned by the town, as well as the traffic lights, the newer large one at the intersection of Somerset and Main, and these antique ones down by Honeywell Avenue. So we need to have our plans into Maine DOT by May 1st. They've looked at the preliminary ones, so we need to get the final ones done. So the electrical part will be very important. The plan for the sidewalk in the downtown was already reviewed last year at an informational session. So this should work out well, and we'll get the rest of the plans ready, headed down past MCI to the back entrance of the industrial park. If anyone is interested in attending the meeting on Thursday, March 3rd with the planner, let me know and I'll provide the time. I'm waiting for the time in the afternoon now. Could be quite interesting. Thank you so much.
All right, Catherine, thank you very much. So that took care of your part B of number 3?
Yes.
Okay, very good. Thank you. So let's move on to number 4, public hearings. Catherine, you need to read through the entire...
Yes, I do.
Okay, take a breath.
Ordinance 22-3, Town of Pittsfield ordinance authorizing issue of up to $1,068,000 principal amount of general obligation bonds. The Town of Pittsfield Town Council hereby ordains the borrowing of up to $1,068,000 to finance costs of improvements to the town's sewer system through the state's Clean Water State Revolving Fund on the following terms. 1. Pursuant to the Constitution of the State of Maine, Maine law, including Title 30A, Section 5772 and Section 5953-A of the Maine Revised Statutes as amended, and the Town Charter and all other authority thereto enabling, the Town of Pittsfield is authorized to borrow from the Maine Municipal Bond Bank Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, SRF, pursuant to a loan agreement between the town and the Maine Municipal Bond Bank, the bank, a principal amount not to exceed $1,068,000, and to expend the proceeds of the loan or loans to finance the improvements and upgrades to the town's sewer system, which may include but are not limited to the rehabilitation of sections of the Main Street sewer main, the project, or such amount of the foregoing project as is approved by the state for participation in the SRF. The town hereby approves and authorizes the issue, sale, and delivery to the bank as evidence of any loan and against payment therefore, general obligation bonds of the town in a principal amount not to exceed $1,068,000 for a term not to exceed 20 years, and any notes in anticipation of such bonds and notes to be executed on behalf of the town by the town treasurer and countersigned by the mayor of the town, and to be at such interest rates, if any, as may be established by the bank and approved by the treasurer and the mayor with such maturities, and to be on such further terms and conditions as may be prescribed by the bank and approved by the treasurer and the mayor, the bonds and the notes, such approval to be conclusively evidenced by their execution of the bonds or notes. If the bank approves only some, but not all of the foregoing project as eligible for funding under its SRF program, the town is authorized to proceed with the borrowing of the amount and project approved by the bank, even though the state may have approved only some, but not all of the project described above. 2. The mayor and the treasurer are hereby authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the town a loan agreement relating to the issuance of the bonds and any notes in anticipation thereof in such form and on such terms as the bank shall require, which loan agreement is hereby approved and may contain such other terms and provisions not contrary to the general tenure hereof as the treasurer may approve with his or her approval to be conclusively evidenced by his or her execution thereof. 3. The mayor and the treasurer are hereby authorized to execute and deliver on behalf of the town loan application and other applications to the bank for borrowing under its SRF program. Number 4. The mayor, the treasurer, and other municipal officers and officials of the town are hereby authorized to execute all documents and certificates and to take all action, including affixing the seal of the town as may be necessary or convenient to carry out the full intent of the foregoing votes or any one of them, and are hereby authorized and empowered in its name and on its behalf to do or cause to be done all such acts and things as may be deemed necessary or desirable in order to effect the borrowing authorized herein. 5. The town has been awarded a grant of $498,210 to the Maine Johnson Recovery Plan allocation of wastewater infrastructure funding from funds received pursuant to the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, and hereby appropriates such grant funds to be applied to the project subject to the conditions of the grant to be administered by the Maine Department of Environmental Protection, Bureau of Water Quality. Number 6, this ordinance shall become effective in 30 days.
All right, thank you, Catherine. So this is a public hearing before we go to the public for comments and whatnot. Just lets council know after everyone's had an opportunity to ask questions or make comments. We will look for a motion for action to vote on it, to pass or not to pass, and then we'll move on to the business. So with that, I'll open up the questions. I'll start with the folks here present in the council. Then I'll get to the folks that are online. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak? Yes, Doc. If you would, for the record, state your name and your address, please.
You want the council to go first, or?
No, I'm asking you.
Dr. Howard Margolski, 131 Elm Street. Question. Number 1 is the $1,068,000. Okay, the sum that it's going to cost us to redo Main Street, or does that include other sewer work in the town?
Yes, Catherine, please, if you would.
Yes, the estimated cost of $1,068,000 is for several sections of the Main Street sewer line. We are fortunate in that we have been given a grant of $498,210, so we'll actually be paying on a lower amount.
So are we going to borrow the full amount, or just what we need above the $498,000?
Yeah, we're required by the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund to borrow the entire amount. They will then apply the grant directly to the top, so it's subtracted right out, and then the amortization chart and the loan payments are based upon the smaller amount.
Okay. Secondly, is it says in paragraph 1, as is approved by the state for participation in the SRF, on the first line on page 2. Now, if the state doesn't approve the participation in the SRF, who pays for it? Or are we just going to have a higher principal to pay? It looks like they have to approve the parts that we want to do.
Could I?
Yes, we have Annalise here from Oliver Associates that would like to speak.
Hi.
If
Hi.
all right.
I've been involved in helping the town with the project, and the state, as it refers to here, is the DEP.
Yeah.
And they have basically, they have approved the concept of this project, and they'll just have to review the town's financials, and also the sewer plans before they're allowed to be bid. So that's kind of what that means.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
So have those plans been drawn up?
No, that's not, none of that's been done.
None of that's been done?
No.
Okay, all right. Another question is with respect to this, is the proposal for other sewer work in town, all right? How's that going to be paid? Hello?
Yes, Catherine, please.
Yes, so what takes place is the town decides which projects they want to apply for through the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, which fortunately is having a lot of money come down, which has a lot of forgiveness money, which we normally don't receive a lot of. So the council would decide which projects to apply for. If there are grant funding, we will apply for that also. But the Clean Water State Revolving Loan Fund, in which you get a loan and then some forgiveness, and in our case we were very fortunate because the project is estimated at $1,068,000. We were able to get a grant or forgiveness of $498,210. So what we actually will pay on the loan will be $569,790 for a very important project so that we can get the Main Street project done.
Okay, now, what is the time frame for that piece of the project to be done before the paving is done? Or is it going to be concomitant with it?
Yeah, we have a schedule, and I'll let Annalise talk about the schedule that she's created.
Okay, so yes, I have a schedule that I provided the town. And so if everything's approved tonight, we would look to try to start surveying that in a couple weeks. There are some easements to work out because some of the Main Street sewer involves cross-country pieces that tie into the Main Street. So work on doing that. We have geotechnical to do. We also have the design to do and drafting and all of that. So we wanted to get all of our work completed prior to DOT's work. So the plan would be to get everything done regarding Main Street in 2022, such that the sewer isn't in the way of all the other work.
So that would be done. That piece will have to be repaved, obviously, as we go forward, okay, for next year, next winter.
Yeah.
And then in 23, into 24 or whenever,
Then
they'll do the paving on Main Street.
Correct. And it would be out of the way, and it gives the sewer a chance to settle, which is good prior to the DOT doing their work.
Okay. Amazing that a project that was supposed to be done for the bicentennial is going to be done in 2024. So one other question with respect to this, and it actually involves the $161,000 that's a resolution to pay for the work by Oliver to oversee this. Why isn't that included in the $1,068,000 estimate?
It is.
It is.
Yes, it's concluded. Design fees, inspection fees, easement work,
So why is
survey.
it pulled out as part of a separate resolution?
Could you provide clarification? It's a very
Yes.
valid question.
Yes, because this is a large project, anything that's over $5,000, we always have a contract for it. So the contract is also a requirement of the Clean Water SRF program, and they have a format that we need to follow. So there's a separate resolution, however, it is part of the overall loan. that we're talking about now.
So that's included in the overall sum?
Correct.
That's not above and beyond?
It is not.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doc. Anyone else in the audience would like to speak? Very well. Let me get it back up online here. Is there anyone online now that would like to make comment on this resolution? All right. Very well. I see none.
Mike,
Yes.
Bernard messaged and he can't hear anything coming from the feed at all.
So what we have now, if you can hear me online, I'll lose my voice here before the end of the meeting. Right now, I'm looking for public comment on this ordinance 22-03. Is anyone online that wishes to speak or comment about this ordinance? Very well. Thank you. Thank you for that. So I think what I'll do is go for the motion and ask for, then we'll have the council discussion. So public comment is closed on ordinance 22-03, so I'll request that the council provide a motion for this. Set to vote.
I'll make a motion.
Excuse me, can I ask one more question?
Okay, Doc.
All right, just for me, Mike, okay?
Yeah, just for you.
Okay, all right. My understanding is this is being done as a separate request because it's not included in the several $1 million that we've already appropriated by other loans. Understanding that, okay, does this sum have to be paid back through the water and sewer fees? Because, you know, the water and sewer, you always tell us, is a standalone, project. Now, if this is going to have to be paid by water and sewer fees, we just had a wonderful 47% increase. What is it going to cost to pay for this loan over the next 20 years?
Yes, Captain, please.
Yes, in the sewer budget, it has already been planned that there would be another debt service payment for a project in order to complete the work that needs to be done on Main Street. So this would not affect the bottom line of increasing the sewer rate. So the sewer and water pay for themselves, and so the sewer fees will pay for this debt service payment. We just have to be careful if we add on other debt service payments for sewer or water.
So what we've done is covered in the rate, the raise that you put in August, basically.
Yeah, that raise was in the water budget only. The sewer did not require an increase.
So that was just water, not sewer.
Yes, the water struggles. Yes.
So are we going to have an increase in sewer?
No, not for this project.
Okay, you heard it.
Yep, not
Okay.
for this project.
All set, Doc?
Yep.
All right, let's return to the council for a motion, please.
I'm making a motion we adopt ordinance 22-03.
I'll second it. All right, thank you. Moved and seconded. Council, any questions or comments on ordinance 22-03? Very well. Hearing none, I sense we're ready to vote. All those in favor of ordinance 22-03, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it. Ordinance 22-03 passes. So let's move on to reports. Council committees, we'll start with finance.
We haven't met.
No report. Thank you. Ordinance committee?
Haven't met.
Very well. Recycling committee?
I don't think they've met.
Has not met.
Has not met. Thank you. Move on to board committee updates by the councils and managers. Catherine?
Yes, the Recreation Committee will hold a regular meeting next Wednesday, March 9th at 5:30 PM, and I expect the new Recreation Director will be in attendance. Thank you.
All right, let's move on to town manager report, please, Catherine.
Yes, I'm going to try to be brief because we've got a number of items under here.
Yes, thank you.
Yes, definitely. All right, very busy period of time. The town manager's report is online, available on the table, and the councilors have had a copy of it. So basically, we've got items about the main online barn permits, transfer station stickers, dog licenses, online services, online council materials, and the reuse center. I won't be reading those. Those are all in the report, and in there each week the new residents. We have a lot of people moving in town because the houses and mobile homes and properties have been selling quite quickly here. Current and upcoming activities, I do want to remind everybody there is a special election for town councilor open position. Nomination papers became available on Tuesday, January 25th, and must be filed with the town clerk on Monday, May 7th at 5 o'clock p.m. The election to be held is for councilor at large. It is on Thursday, April 21st, for a term through the end of the year. Number 8, there is a new village partnership initiative called VPI for 2022, in which $5 million will be available. I mentioned earlier on under economic development a couple of the programs that are involved. If anyone has any questions on small spots where traffic calming might be needed in addition to Somerset Plaza area, obviously some work needs to be done there. And on Somerset Avenue, let me know. We're aware of those too, and we'll be talking to the state about that. We're looking for members for the Community Block Grant CDGB Advisory Committee. We have several people signed up now, so that's good. We want to get going as soon as Haley Ward is able to meet with the electricians so that we can get the project all planned out. There are grant funding coming in from 7 or 8 different sources. So this does need to be organized. Number 10, the town is fortunate in that if we did want to proceed forward with another clean water state revolving loan fund, and we do have to be careful about this, but if we did, there are some funding that's coming down that will have forgiveness with it. So this is something we're talking to Annalise, all of her associates about, to see if there's any other projects we'd like to submit a proposal on. So we'll talk more about that at the next meeting, because the deadline is coming up after the next meeting. Number 11, we're very fortunate that the bipartisan infrastructure law called BIL, for airport impact, will provide the town approximately $159,000 extra in addition to our regular allotments for the airport. So this is absolutely wonderful and comes at an important time. It can be used for crack sealing, paving, marking, and projects such as that. So that is very good. I'll mention that we're all set up under number 12 for our award management for the SAM account at the federal government. That was quite an experience. When the federal government puts 10 websites together, it can be interesting to get on, but we're all set for another year. And just quickly, we'll be talking about the paving plan shortly. Recreation items, the MyRecCom new recreation programming bank account was established, set up, and is working. We're waiting for the MyRecCom company to send $1 to the account to see how it works, and then the Recreation Committee will be all set to roll that out for the spring sports programming and application, so that will be wonderful. People can still come to the town office, but they can use a website now and do that online, which is very good. We do have, and we'll be advertising a bit, the new server is arriving on Thursday, March 3rd. There's not supposed to be any interruptions on that day. Trio, Harris Company, will be coming to implement the new programming on March 4th. There will be interruptions on that day. We've been told a half an hour, but I'm going to advertise it as a bit more. These things never go quite according to a schedule here. But on Friday morning, March 4th, which is the time that they said that they could come, they'll be completing a migration from the old server to the new server. This isn't the new programming yet, but it's to move all the information over. So there will be a delay of approximately 20 minutes of downtime. So we'll be advertising that in a number of locations, because Friday morning is usually a busy time. But after waiting all these months for this to happen, we have to go forward here. You got the reports on code enforcement. And we are looking for planning board members, so if anyone would like to be on the planning board, there are a multitude of several terms that are available. People have moved out of town or retired, or decided that they wanted to do something else. So it would be good to have a full planning board. So anyone that's interested, let our town clerk, Nicole Nicola, know. And then I left you with a listing of all the sewer and water projects that we'll be working on that are just operational and maintenance type items. And so now back to the paving plan. I met with Annalise and we talked about water, sewer, and came up with a listing of roads that are in the country and roads that are in town that apparently or appear to have reasonably good water and sewer, or at least not have problems as much as we can tell. So I'll let Annalise go over the reports that she put together, and then I'll talk about the areas that are suggested for paving.
Okay, at the last meeting, you had requested that you have a better idea of what the condition is of the sewer and the water, and I will say it's quite an undertaking for pulling this information together in a week. So I want to say the tables that I gave you and the updated plans are a work in progress. They're not complete. We don't know everything about everything to do with where every single sewer pipe is in town, but I think we're getting there. And I think this is an important start, is keeping this. We plan to keep it in a binder. So as things are discovered, or as the guys that are out working in the field find things that contradict these tables or the plans, we plan to keep them up to date. So we tried to put one together for the water distribution system and one together for the sewer collection system. The one for the sewer collection system has a lot of information because about, now 12 years ago, 13 years ago, we did a pretty intensive infiltration and inflow study where we did a lot of video work and became very close to your sewer system. So we know a lot of the materials in those areas and have a pretty good feel for whether things are in good condition or not. On the water side, we don't have as good an idea of condition in some of the areas. So basically I want to just mention that cast iron, because of its age, I did put up a note at each of the water pages that it's assumed to be in fair to poor condition because of the fact that it's so old. It doesn't mean it's leaking, it doesn't mean it can't be paved over. It's more just how I would assess a water line, that the town does not have money to replace every single cast iron water main in town. So we have to kind of prioritize the areas that are causing us issues before we do that. So I tried to put some notes to the side and things that we did know, as far as in the Birchwood area, the fact that that water line is AC is a concern because that's asbestos cement, and that's not really something that you would build in today's age for a water line. So I hope this information is helpful. We tried to update the map to show the years when the piping was installed or upgraded. The sewer map, there's been a lot of work done in town. A lot of sewer work has been done. On the water side, it doesn't appear that there's as much. I really haven't been involved for all the years way back, so I only knew the things we knew had been done and a few plans that I was able to find. So if there's any things anybody notices, mention it to Catherine and we will keep these up to date. So this just meant as a start to give you some information when you're looking at roads or things like that. And there's a code at the back to a key, I should say, that tells you what the acronyms are. I know a lot of people are very construction oriented here, so they probably already know what the acronyms mean, but in the back it gives you what the acronyms are for pipe materials and that type of thing.
So, excuse me, the ones you marked very poor are all the galvanized ones then I see.
Yeah, the galvanized pipe is very poor.
Right.
And in all the areas that there's galvanized pipe here, we've had issues with.
Right.
It doesn't last any longer than it has really. So it's kind of Band-Aid together.
So those should be the ones we go after them.
Those would be ones that should be looked at.
Right.
I mean,
That's a matter of time for the galvanized Ross Road.
right. I mean, they have in some cases, and what we do is we go in there and replace sections of it, but they're very small too. They're also very undersized. I mean, they're only 2 inches in diameter. But it's very common. I mean, the condition of the system here is no different than many other larger communities. It costs a lot of money to fix the water and the sewer, and obviously it has to be paid for. So it's a big consideration.
So if you were going to rate these, because like Brent was just saying, the galvanized, what would be the next?
I take the AC, especially if those are areas that you're already working in, or areas that have been very small or problematic. But in my opinion, I think you've been looking pretty hard at some of the areas where the AC pipe is, and we've had a lot of leaks in those areas because there's also when that was installed, they used plastic service lines, and those have plastic bar fittings and that type of thing, and those don't last, and they're not the right pressure. So it's kind of more than this table can tell you.
Yeah.
The table's just kind of the beginning of it.
So between the CI and the DI, which would be the next?
The ductile is new. Ductile's good.
That is new, so
Ductile iron is the newest, and and cast iron, it's more just if you're going to do a major job and there's been problems with the cast iron and it's undersized, I'd consider it, but you're not going to be able to afford to replace all the cast iron in this community, in my opinion. But
I see there's a couple of these, actually 1 inch pipe feeding.
there's some small pipe,
Yeah. There's a couple of 1 inch ones.
yeah.
How can that be?
Because it probably just feed a small area. That's not very, I mean, honestly, the 2-inch galvanized is probably that small as well. And like I said, this is work in progress. I obviously had a week to put this together, and it needs to be vetted more thoroughly. I just wanted you to see that we have worked on it and we made some progress. The sewer part of it I feel very confident with because we've done so much work in the sewer system and studying it, and we have videotapes of a lot of it. The water is much more complicated because unless you go in and dig it up, you can't really easily video it.
On the sewer side of that, a lot of the ones that are labeled in poor condition are noted that the camera work was done in 2010. So is this assuming deterioration since then, or
No.
was this actually the recorded condition at that time?
It was a recorded condition at that time. And the reason that it wasn't tackled is there was a lot tackled back then. A lot of sewer work was done. There just was a lot of sewer work that needed to be done.
Sure.
It's an old, vitrified clay is not highly desirable, and that was a popular
Right.
construction material.
Right.
So what would you use for the replacement material on these Amleys?
For the sewer, most common is PVC.
And water?
Water, we prefer ductile iron, but some communities use high-density polyethylene. Some use PVC. The reason I like ductile and I prefer ductile is I know they can put tracing wire over it, but it's not as reliable as tracing out the metal, and we've had really good luck with that. But the other materials we did on Waverly was high-density polyethylene for a portion of it because of the fact we had to do that directional boring under the water.
Okay.
So those are all decent materials.
Lifespan.
Hundreds of
lifespan is
years.
Similar.
Yeah,
Okay.
hundreds of years. we won't know when they deteriorate.
No, science marches on, maybe we won't know.
Very,
Yeah.
it's all in my head. I'll figure it out.
I see some of the roads that we're recommending to pave, we actually don't know the condition of the sewer. Like Lancey Street, that's unknown. Waverly says it's unknown. Certainly wouldn't want to say, yeah, we want to put those on our paving plan to pave this year if we have no idea if that sewer is good or bad or anything else.
We talked about that and going out to have the small sections, having them videotaped just to ensure that they're fine.
We discussed that this morning, doing some added video work.
Yeah.
I think we're going to have to. We talked about video work previously, but it was so expensive that we didn't go forward to. At that time, it was decided not to. So I think we pick away at this, and these are roads that can be saved if they are paved now. And Nichols Street is in very bad condition and going downhill. It was trench paved when we did the sewer line there previously. So it would be a good idea to get cost estimates on looking at the taping of these and make sure that they're appropriate. If not, we'll have another list.
So ideally, we will have a status of the pipes below the road before we entertain the idea that we pave them.
Yes.
There's only a couple that,
They're kind of
That would-
short,
right.
too. They're not too long, so I don't think it'll be that difficult to get it done.
right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah.
It's just, yeah, it's a prerequisite for the list, basically, right?
Right.
And then, of course, in the rural section, we don't have water and sewer, except in the small areas. And those roads, as we talked, the end of Webb Road is seriously in bad shape. Beans Corner Road, Crawford Road, Spring Road has sections. And then for the water and sewer priorities, we talked about Birchwood Terrace should be our number one concern due to the number of breaks and the type of material. And we had applied for the drinking water program, which would be the replacement of the water line on Birchwood Terrace. We did not score high enough because we don't have a huge amount of depth compared to other towns. There was no contamination, which is something that gives you a lot of points, and we don't want to have any contamination. And the water rate is still below the average. So we're very fortunate that the town has been offered design funds of $57,000 as forgiveness through the drinking water program. We need to get more details. We've also been offered design funds for Library Street, which was of importance due to the fact that we'll have a lot more traffic on it in the future. So that would be forgiveness too. And the thought pattern of the drinking water program is that they got additional money down, and so those projects that did not score high enough, they wanted to see which communities and water districts wanted to go forward. And then if your project is designed out, you get more points in the next round. So we'll have to get more details. It sounds like we have to get loans on these, but they're forgive, which sounds like a lot of work involved. So we have to make sure that's what the drinking water program is thinking of.
So essentially what we have here are a list of the status of the water and sewer, the ideal list of the paving. That's going to be food for thought for us and any public that wants to consider this. What is your anticipated timeline when we will have a list that we can act upon? I know it depends on when you can get the inspections done.
It's going to be when the inspections can be done, and if that's going to take too long, we're going to have to choose some other roads.
Do we have a ballpark figure though? Are we talking March, June, this year, next year? Just, because I know we've been talking about for some time, do we have a feel for when we can have something presented to the council for consideration?
So So Annalise, depending on the companies and how busy they are, can they do the sewer work now?
I would think they
Okay,
would do it
good.
now. I mean, they wouldn't want to do it on a day that was -2, but, you know, if it was 20, 30 degrees, they could do it now. So I would just have to get, you know, figured out exactly which streets we're going to do and call and get some pricing.
We'll get quotations.
I'll have to get some pricing because
Okay.
you have wished that I do more of the bidding on that, so I would have to reach out to 3, I think there's only 3 different vendors now that do it.
Right, understood.
Yeah.
Craig?
Well, I guess I kind of just answered my question. Is it going to be cost prohibitive? You made a mention a minute ago that it was extremely expensive to do this work. Is that something that we should consider on the streets that have not been done? We have plenty of streets that need paving and have needs that we have all the information now. We can budget that going into next year.
Yeah, there are
To have that
a few
done.
roads that we could do that would not require this. We'll get the quotations and have the idea, then that will determine what we can do. We may decide just to go out and take care of Crosby, for example. That is a major road going down to our major recreational area that, you know, hundreds of vehicles go down to, and people walk on, and it's seriously deteriorated. It's even hard to walk on now. So we may decide to go forward with the video of only one.
Sure.
You know, the valid point, Craig, I guess what I wanted to clarify for this is that this is a wish list.
Right.
Yes.
Perfect world, this is what we'd like to do, here's the conditions, let's do the whole thing. We may find it'll be the whole list, we may find it'll be half, may find it'll be a fraction of that. But this is the information that we have, here's our starting point, now we're gonna start whittling down, we're gonna consider, doing the inspections. And, you know, I was going to reiterate that point about the price for that.
Yeah.
But to do it right, you know, we're seeing the Main Street project, it's turning into a, you know, multi-headed monster trying to get that done, but we can't do that until we get the water and sewer done properly, otherwise it's just wasting money. In 10 years we're digging it up. So we need to approach this right, so hopefully the next 5 or 10 years, the council won't have to worry about these streets like we are now.
That's right.
And the more we do this video work, we'll have so much more information to have accurate things.
Well, when you started, I think back in 08 when I started, you had mentioned there's just absolutely no idea what's under the roads. I mean, in the time that you've done this, I mean, you have quite a map. You had nothing like that
Right,
before.
yeah, we're getting information, and the DEP, like, it'll look good too, because we are required to do collection system maintenance, so this will be our collection system maintenance for this year. So it's not, even if we weren't paving these roads, it's good to do it, so I think it's great that everybody's supportive of doing this video work.
Sure.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I'm not against doing the video work. If it's going to pull from the budget monies that can be used towards paving on roads that need it this year, if it makes more sense, right?
Buy some time.
Buy us some time, right? And not spend money that's not necessary this year. So that's all my concern.
Well, that's why I wanted to clarify if we have some kind of schedule, if it's going to be the next 3 months, because this is, as you know, I'll reiterate, this is just food for thought. Here's our wish list. You know, if we're doing our homework, we're going to look into it, ask these questions. I mean, the fact that Delancey wasn't is unknown, I mean, that's an excellent point we made. And of course, with the videotaping, it takes cost too, so, you know, being financially responsible is a tough job sometimes if those are the right questions to ask. Jason,
I just didn't want to run into the fact, like, I live on Chinquette Street, and Chinquette Street the sewer was redone after they had paved it, so now it's a mixed match of crap right now that just doesn't hold up well. So if we can avoid those types of situations, which we had on Franklin Street, we've had it plenty of times. Obviously this year puts us way ahead of where we've ever been, so that's a good thing, but I was thinking the video saves us from paving it and then ripping it back up, which we've done plenty.
Yeah.
And I would prefer not to do that.
I think, you know, Catherine, you probably correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that we've had this kind of organization between water and sewer and the paving to this degree. I mean, it's the right way to do it. And that, you know, it is painful to do so. Okay, let's pave the road, done, let's move on to the next topic. But we can't, we have to plan for
Well,
that. I think a lot of this came to light with this whole Main Street project. Well, before we do that, we're going to do this, but before we do that, we're going to do this.
Right.
That's why it's stretched long.
I we're in a lot better situation with water and sewer. I think paving still has some catching up to do to marry these all together. We're not there yet. I mean, just these suggestions here don't match up with what you would see from this report.
Right, and that's
So,
why I asked the
and-
question about the inspection.
On a side note, like Library Street, we know that one's really bad condition as far as paving goes. It said here that the water is in poor condition, and we are unknown on the Library Street's sewer, which is like 1,500 feet, and I assume probably provides a lot of sewer to a lot of houses off of that. But, I mean, I have to look at this again, but that might need to be a higher priority than what we're giving.
Yeah, I would suggest, as we go through this, to make these kind of notes, and as we get more information from Annalise, or from the town, that we can look at it a bit more logical. Catherine?
So quickly, Library Street is a priority for water and sewer. We just have to be able to get the funding for it. And fortunately, we've been offered design funds of $52,000 so we can get started. So that is really good. As well as Birchwood Terrace that desperately needs a new water line. So we've been offered the design funds of $57,000. So that's really good. And in terms of Lancey Street, we did talk about how that was an important road because of the schools there, and the condition is really going downhill. So we're going to utilize some of the funding that was in the sewer budget so that we could do the video work. In 1997, very quickly, the town commissioned a huge engineering study and came up with a water and sewer map and did a lot of study. And so we were following that for years until we realized that it was incorrect. And so we started a new effort with all of our associates in 2009 when we were able to get the budget increased. When I arrived, the town had the lowest sewer rate in the state of Maine, and that was not good because not much maintenance got done or sewer lines got done. So we had to have a sewer increase, and then we were able to hire engineers to help us with the projects. And so we're really far ahead, as you said now, definitely. So thank you. So we'll finalize all this with some quotations and everything.
When we finalize this information, can we put it on the schedule of paving so we can have everything on the same
Yes.
spreadsheet? I mean, obviously, it'd be nice to come up with a scoring type system where you can kind of look down through and say, okay, paving's is non-existent. It's a dirt road pretty much, and then the sewer's in bad shape, and just so we can categorize out which
That would show the gaps in Lancey Street that Council Hall brought up.
Exactly. We'll go down through it and kind of something you look at all in one spot. There's a lot of information here, obviously.
Yeah, there is.
And you obviously have this electronically. Is that something you like?
Yeah, it's available.
Okay. So in case like we want to manipulate it ourselves and come up with our own.
Very
Very bad.
That's an interesting word.
No, just if I want to have my own spreadsheet that gives me a different look at it.
Can't take your words back.
We did have library on our video schedule, and to get a price to do it
Good.
with a contractor, but they haven't done it yet.
Excellent.
So that's in the queue, ready to go.
Yes.
Yes, that was supposed to be done in December, and the
Yeah.
company had some issues.
Good issues. Here, I got a question. Yeah. You must have a spreadsheet, there's supposedly 64 roads in town. Not all of them have sewer and water.
Correct.
But are you going down through a checklist and checking which ones are done, which ones aren't? How far along are we?
So are you asking me if I'm looking at the roads along with
I mean,
this?
sewer and water, I mean, on those roads.
So I'm looking only at the sewer and the water,
Right.
and I'm looking at which ones we've done work on and which ones we've not.
Right, so.
And-
You looking for a percent complete?
And
You looking for like a percent complete?
Yeah.
you mean video or
Inspection.
Inspection, right? So that's the kind of what the DEP's requiring us to do.
Okay.
So we're working on that. I don't have that summarized on here, but I can add a column.
Okay, because
Yeah.
I can go through and add these up, try to figure it out, but I know
Yeah.
there's 64 roads, but not all of them have water and sewer.
Right.
But whatever it is, I don't know if we're 50% of the way, or three-quarters of the way,
No.
third.
Well, we may be with the SSCS report we did back in 2009 with that and what we've recently done, we might be, I'd say, maybe 50% out of my, I'd have to look at that. I don't know.
And just one other thing, it's got a little, nothing major, but you've got GCAT spelled wrong.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm an engineer. I don't spell quite right.
I'm just happy people pronounce it right.
I'll fix that. That does look off. Thank you.
Welcome.
Heather, you have a comment?
I actually had a question, something that Ron had mentioned as far as being concerned that he voiced about having funding and putting it into the roads instead of the sewer. Just to clarify, the sewer funding and the investigating the condition of all the sewers and stuff, that comes out of a separate budget than like the paving would. And that paving within the sewer budget would be more like paving over where they have to open a road versus paving a road. Is that?
Yes, when we do the videotaping, that would come out of the sewer enterprise from the sewer budget. It won't impact the paving monies whatsoever. The paving monies would be used for the paving, the culverts, and the accessory work that needed to be done.
Perfect, thank you.
Yep, thank you.
Yeah, Don.
Just a point, we've had issues with getting the right manholes at the right level for other roads that we've already paved. So I'd like to be sure that we check that going forward.
They were just anticipating the sinking. It's well engineered.
Good point.
They're supposed to come back and fix that, actually. Some of the ones that have sunk.
They will. They will. I'm quite certain.
But there were others that we had temporarily done some paving on, as I recall, a couple of roads, that they didn't have the right manholes, at the time, or they needed to raise it a certain level, and they hadn't done it. And they paved it, and then they had to dig it up to put it back in.
I'll entertain one more. Mr. Lux?
Okay, I'm afraid by being here tonight, I may have brought around the kiss of death.
You're dismissed.
And the reason I'll say that is because I didn't realize there was going to be this much discussion on Birchwood Terrace, the street that I live on. So I'd like to place a bet. And that bet would be that before you guys get to that project, we're going to have another leak. Before the snow is melted, primarily because you're going to be adding 3 new houses onto that water pipe that are being built in there. So I just...
I understand your concern.
So, Jim, I'd rather you pick up that money because having money flowing around the public forum with elected officials makes me nervous.
Just checking. But I'm
Very dramatic, though.
But I'm serious because that I didn't realize that was going to be discussed today. So
Well, that area's been a topic of discussion for some time now.
but I am a little concerned because there are 3 new houses that are going to be hooked up to that water line before the summertime if they build them as quickly as they do, and that just I think that puts the pressure on that line is not good.
It's priority number 1.
All right, thank you, Jan.
One quick comment, I wanted
Yes,
to
please,
know,
we move along here.
I'll be very quick.
Yep.
On the manhole covers, we realized that the town crews with all their work had difficulties in matching these up. And so for the last 2 years, we've hired a manhole company that is expertise is putting in the manholes, and they did a magnificent job on the roads that we hired them for. So that's something that we would consider as part of the paving monies to do that in the future.
So that's kind of built into the paving.
Yes,
Okay.
that's correct.
Thank you.
Now that we know you're watching.
So we hire someone specifically to set the manholes? Or just to raise them?
Sometimes they have to, they're not just raised, they have to be fixed because they're crumbling. It depends on, each manhole is reviewed and bid specs are put together. Whether it has to be just raised, which is not that hard to do, but most of them have had to be rebuilt.
Is the one down here gonna be rebuilt?
All right, which one is
The
that?
one that we just did last year, right on the corner of, by Kleinschmidt. When you turn up this street, come to the town
Main and
office.
Central.
All right, they went back and worked on that. All right, so you're,
That's
They
not
put-
something I
I
would,
think
Okay.
they put too much pavement there, because I had somebody comment on it, and we were gonna put something there temporarily, but it'll,
like a
obviously, if it's in
foot
the
and a half
sewer,
low.
if it's in the sewer work area, we'll fix it too permanently.
Yeah,
I don't know.
awful.
I don't
hit
know
it every day.
Okay. Annalise, was there anything more you wanted with your presentation?
No, not with this, just wanted to say that it's work in progress, and I'd take any input, to update it and make it more accurate. It was just the first round of what you thought about the format and that type of thing.
yes, it's very, very
Yeah,
helpful.
there's a lot of information, and I know you've been working on it for a long time. Thank you for sharing that with us, and hopefully we can digest sufficiently.
See, this is a great project because before we were using the state sewer flow study book, and you have an excerpt in your budget books, and then we were using the charts of the work that water sewer had done. So having this all together by road name is excellent.
One more comment, we're gonna move on.
Yeah,
Eric.
sorry. So when is old video footage not really that useful? Like how much?
I mean, like, it depends
That was
on,
better than nothing. You get that?
Well,
Is it
if
also
it's-
false security at some point?
I mean,
Or is it-
if it depends on the material. If it's old and it was vitrified clay and it looked bad back then, it's going to look worse now.
Sure.
So you know that it's valid. For PVC, as long as you're doing your flow checks, you're checking your manholes and the flow's getting through it, typically you don't have too many problems with that.
Okay.
We try to cycle through a system this big and this many streets once every 10 years.
Okay, so ideally, you would have a fresh video of every piece of line in this.
Correct, but this has not been the past practice. And so that is what is going to be happening now. And we have it in the budget to do video work. It is actually a budget line now in our sewer budget to do it, not just because of this paving that's going on, but because we need to understand our sewer system.
Good, so we do have that, that's a plan
Yes,
to
it's a
happen.
plan to
So
happen
we're gonna
because
continue to do this.
DEP does
Okay, good.
require us to do it. So, and that's with all my experience elsewhere, it's been beat into my system, so.
So to put this on the scale, we're just trying to develop a baseline.
This
Yeah.
is sort of where we're starting, and the fact we have so much.
This is a
is when we
baseline
start.
only, and then we can react to that.
Yep. I think it's great we have a plan to actually keep it up to date,
Yes.
like we should do with our paving too.
All right, Catherine, anything more on that from
No,
your
thank you.
presentation?
No, thank you.
You all said anything, you're all set with the reports?
Thank you so much.
Very well, thank you very much. I appreciate everyone's comment. That was some good information going back and forth. So number 6, old business, there is none. Let's move on to number 7, new business, resolution 22-24. Captain, if you will, please.
Resolution 22-24, resolved that the town council waive the bid policy, chapter 2, administrative code, section 106, regulation of bids and contracts to accept the proposal of Oliver Associates, Inc. of Winterport, serving as the town's operator for water and sewer, and authorize the town manager to execute the agreement between owner and engineer for professional services for the Main Street sewer improvements to not exceed $161,000.
All right, thank you, Captain. I'll look for a motion from the council, please.
Make a motion, we adopt resolution 22-24.
So you're moved and seconded. Thank you very much. Any questions or comments from the council? Now, Doc, this was the 161,000 you mentioned before. It is all part of it.
Thank you.
Anyone in the audience have any? Yes, Heather.
It's more of a comment than anything.
Certainly.
But,
We entertain those too.
just having been involved with the council for several years now, I'm continually impressed by the professionalism that Annalise brings to our meetings. She's always very well prepared and gives us often more information than we ask for, always has good suggestions for alternatives, and is very forward-looking. And I think having Oliver act as our operator has really been a great step forward for the town. and has made some really big difference in the operations of the sewer and water departments.
I agree. Good comment. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
Anyone else in the audience? Anyone online have any questions or comments they want to offer for Resolution 2224? Very well. Council, questions or comments? Very well. Hearing none, I sense ready to vote. All those in favor of Resolution 22-24, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-24 passes. Resolution 22-25, please, Catherine.
Resolution 22-25, resolved that the town council authorize the use of American Rescue Plan Act funding for important town projects.
I'll look for a motion from the council, please.
Make motion to adopt resolution 22-25.
Second. Moved and seconded. Thank you, councils. Let's look at the paper that was generated. Town Manager Catherine, would you like to read through that?
Yes, very good.
Give us
Thank
the
you.
Reader's Digest version.
Yes, I will. Copies have been available in the council package and on the table. I updated from meetings with the departments and the discussions that have taken place, the funding that we have available, what is encumbered and what is proposed. As follows, the town has received $421,829.50. There is an additional check for $245.05 coming from our appropriation and proration of funds that were not accepted by other communities, which wasn't much. So these project costs have to be incurred by December 31st, 2024. We had some initial allocations, and we have expended to date $27,399.99, and we have encumbered an additional $62,785.70. So basically, encumbered and spent, or spent to date, is $90,185.69. This leaves you with $331,643.81 available. There are a number of projects that we are considering. The first one being the SCBA and the tanks, and if we needed to purchase 20, based upon the quotation that Bernard Williams got, and subtracting out the PPE that was carried forward the last 2 years, we would need $148,317. For bulletproof vests and carriers, originally listed for the 8 full-time positions and 8 part-time positions, but we verified that 5 individuals are all set. So that was originally $24,000. We revised that to $16,500. On the SCBA, the quotation, once you subtract out the $13,000 from the quotation that Bernard got, is $148,317. We do need the monies for the VFW, and $40,000 have been mentioned as a probability, estimated cost. And I did put down $5,000 for the council chambers for sound, video, and computer upgrades.
Did you say VFW?
VFD, sorry. I might have, did I say VFW?
Yeah.
All right, that is the directional drive, which can be explained out by Annalise, but this is very important as a water project to take care of, and it's not something that you would get a loan for. So once we figured in the items that we needed, that left us with $121,826.81 to distribute it, and it seems like we should spend it on highway for paving, if possible.
So before we move on, clarification on this. I know the intent is probably to make motions and vote on this evening. I know these were the items that were discussed before when there was a possibility that ARPA funds were available. I would suggest possibly that we would expand our search or expand how we would look at things, because we would still have a significant amount of money to which we can apply. So I'd like to, personally, I'd like to see us, discuss this, go through these and yay or nay possibly, but I personally would like to see us move along and continue this on another discussion where we have some time to maybe add something or take something out or, whittle some down. So that's my opinion on that. So let's go ahead and do the proper discussion as we do here. I kind of hijacked the process. Anyone in the audience would like to make comments or questions on this resolution, 22-25? Yes.
I'm a little confused because in your remarks just now you said expand it and add things and whittle things down. So I'm not sure where you're going with that as far as what kind of projects that are on here.
I'm presenting that as an option. What I'm saying is that I don't believe that this list is cast in stone. If we want to consider other things. One thing I'd like to consider is $15,000 because we're still shy an officer in the department.
Isn't there already, how are we shy an officer?
We're shy an officer in the department. Well, this is why I'm saying this, Heather. No one in here is prepared to talk about that, but I want to have that as an item to discuss at another time when we can have a little bit more detail on that. So,
Mike, can these funds be used for purely capital expenses as well?
Yes.
So,
I think so.
My question would be, there was a lot of capital expense in the budget. Can we use some of the funds to offset some of the capital expenses, even though that budget's been approved, and carry that amount forward to next year to, buffer the tax rate, whatever it may wind up being next year? You got $100,000, which is more than that, not an insignificant amount. There are capital expenses that were over $100,000, and why can't we use some of that fund, to offset some of that cost, so we don't have to borrow as much or apply it to that?
So this is why I want to bring this up in discussion. This is why I made that suggestion that we can reconsider this, because we have an opportunity from the last time that we were told, no, you can't use it for this, you can't use it for that. Now we've had clarification recently that we can do this, and we hadn't considered other things because based on the premise that it was not allowed. Right now we have an opportunity, we have a significant amount of money. I want to get the most bang for the buck, and understand that there's maybe something that we didn't consider because we didn't think it was an option before.
Yep.
So that was a good question. I hadn't really considered that question actually, Doug. Yeah, Eric.
So what are the ground rules of the money? Like, what can we do with the money?
Can you give us a
Yes.
general guideline,
Yes.
please, Pat?
Basically, under the interim rule, it was very specific, and we could not use this for revenue loss. Under the final rule, which was just approved and interpreted, it can be used for any general government items. The intent is not to reduce the budget or to take the monies and put them into the budget. The intent is to take care of projects and items that we were unable to do during COVID and in general.
Okay.
So basically, any general government item. And so these are the ones we're talking about, and the mayor's exactly correct. You can talk about this, in a month, 2 months, you could put other projects in. These are the projects to date that have been talked about on the areas. But you can add in anything to do with general government. And I think the police budget is probably okay. The officers had mentioned that they had a candidate that might like to come forward if there was a $15,000. So we have to get the union's approval, but they should be pleased with that.
Right.
Yeah.
So we basically have 331,000 plus or minus that we can spend it anywhere we want.
On any general government, so you could use it all
We can
for
buy it.
all for paving, you could
Right.
use it all for water.
All for sewer, all for
Correct.
right. So we don't, even though this top part was originally kind of agreed upon, since everything changed,
It was
that
preliminary. Yeah.
the only part we care about is the fact that we've spent whatever 90 grand on those 3 items.
Yeah, we're committed to
Right.
that.
And 331,000, we can do what we want
Is
with.
available.
Essentially.
Basically, we go back to the drawing board a little bit, maybe not.
Well, that's an option. I wanted to make sure that if there was something that wasn't considered before that we overlooked because we didn't think of an option. Yeah, Craig.
2 questions, I guess. One, when was this money allocated? When did we first become aware that we had this?
So the funds were received in late summer, I believe, of
Okay.
2021.
Okay, I just, and the second piece was that I don't see anywhere in here where it's notated as an additional expense where the bonuses were paid out of that as well.
That's a 23 grand.
Yeah, that's the 23,000. It ended up being less than the estimated 24,500. So that what came out of, you had monies there in case a need arose, and that's what ended up being the total. So basically, you had to date purchased the ionization units for here. You have paid the bonuses for the employees that had worked through the entire COVID period. And you had signed an agreement and encumbered the funds for the backup generator for the water pumping station, a very important project.
So we had a discussion on a number of items. We've committed to 3 of them, and that's that 90,000.
Right, I just didn't understand the language with reserve makes me think that we have a bucket of money sitting there.
Excellent
With
point.
the other.
Well, somebody does, not us.
That bucket's empty.
Someone else has it now.
That's right, thank you. All right.
Just several smaller buckets.
So yeah, I mean, I think that, to your point, I think that we should definitely push this to an opportunity where we have more time to review and to your point, expand the scope of projects that we would like to include and then whittle it down from there, right, to where we have our focus, right?
And I want to add, not at the expense of what's already on here.
Sure.
We may decide that maybe that's not practical. I don't know. I know discussions have been made previously a number of times, last council last year. But we have an opportunity to look at this in a totally different light.
Sure.
And I think we ought to, take a breather and look at it a little bit closer.
Is Annalise prepared to speak on the $40,000 the VFD tonight? Is that something that you alluded to, Catherine?
I mean, I'm
Both the
perfectly
Walmart.
happy to, right, so we have a loaner variable, it's a variable frequency drive, and it's for the water supply pumps, the lift pumps that we have at the Pelsoma Avenue treatment facility. One of them's a borrowed unit, which we've already gotten approval to, through our budget to purchase a new one. And the other one is the same old one as the one that failed. So this would be to try to get them both replaced.
Okay.
That's the purpose of that.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you. Just for
Yeah,
our
I mean-
consideration, so we have that.
And the thing with drives nowadays are really hard to get them. There's huge lead time items on them, and it probably wouldn't be as easy to borrow one again.
So
We borrowed it for a while.
if you could provide clarification, I'm an engineer, but I don't understand the variable frequency drive as with a water pump. Does that speed it up, slow it down, change the output?
Correct. So it can increase, decrease. It's also used as a soft start,
Putting in
basically.
the Sheba drives on.
Yeah, yeah.
I didn't think they would need it for the well pumps, either on or off, and I guess the level it shuts off.
It's basically can ramp up or slow down based on the level and that type of thing.
So
I'm not-
it's
yeah.
for the start up and the stopping, it isn't for the normal run. Does
I
it
mean,
change it during the normal?
It can change. You can change it to put out different amounts. If like the wells were, we're having issues or something like that, we can slow things down. But I'm not saying
Okay.
that that's a typical thing. That's how they were originally designed way back. And when we replaced the pumps, we just let them be. They were there, and that's what we connected to. Because we were involved in the newer pumps. But that's a lot of firms put the drives on there so they save energy at times, but other times they don't. But they're, instead of a soft start, or also it's used for voltage regulation. But I don't believe that was the case here.
Okay. I understood the concept of them using before, I just hadn't considered it with the well pumps.
So is that a pressure? Is it like
These are really not the well pumps that are down in the well. These are the pumps that lift it up to the standpipes.
Right.
Yeah, okay.
Pump, we'll call them pumps, how's that?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
So the one that we're replacing, how old is that one?
Oh boy, I'd say 20-ish, 20 years maybe.
Okay.
We've gotten the life out of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of companies that do drives, right? I mean, I know this company lent us that drive, and it's
We
all
did-
approved to replace it. And I don't have any problem
We
with that.
did
but-
bid it.
Okay.
We did do a bid, and I think it was brought up that I should have reached out further, and I'm trying to do better at that. I tend to.
Well, I go both ways. 'Cause it's nice to have a relationship too. I mean, something's scary,
I don't-
you want to make sure.
Yeah, in
that,
that particular case, but we did bid it,
Right.
and they were the lower bid.
Okay.
And in a way that was kind of good because we didn't have their drive for quite a while. We did end up renting it.
Okay.
I'm not sure how long, but, it was just a matter of getting everything set up to bid it out. So, yeah, this next one, it would be nice if it was the same as the one that we are getting. But there are different vendors who can provide that same drive.
so is there an opportunity to take the drive that comes out, and keep that for a spare?
The one
Is that way?
the one that's coming out now is going back to the vendor because we don't own it. But the other one, yes, it could be a spare. It could be sent out to be cleaned and retrofitted and everything, and have it. We'd have to find a really good storage spot for it, but yeah.
Okay.
All right, yeah, go ahead, Jason.
So on the VFD, that can't come. Remember the money that we had from the like the sludge fund that was over a certain amount. We didn't need to keep it in there. It's like 213,000. We spent like 63 of it down at the pump down by the old vet building. Can't this come from that instead?
So this is a water project, so it's going to come from water funds or from this source. It won't be able to come from the old sludge monies that we've been authorized to utilize for sewer projects.
Okay.
I know, we like to keep it all together, but in that case, we
I
were
guess that-
fortunate the USDA did allow us to take that out and put it in a separate reserve and use it for projects.
Right. I guess we'll need to keep that in mind when we're doing sewer projects. We have
Yeah.
whatever it is, 150 grand.
Yeah, I'm sure we can spend it.
Right. Okay, yeah, thanks.
All right, thank you. Is there anyone on the Zoom call that wishes to make comment? Has any questions?
Mr. Mayor, you had, seems that some members of the council have questions on the number of SCBA's that we need, based on some public comments that were made at the last meeting.
Go ahead.
Well, it seems that there's a thought out there that we don't need to provide as many as I've asked. I'm just wondering if that's just gobbledygook or if there's really a concern about that.
Bernard, I think what I'd like to do, if that would be all right with you, I believe we'll probably table this motion, and since we're going to reconsider this resolution, perhaps we can have that conversation again at a later date.
That would be certainly fine with me.
All right, thank you very much.
Well, I got you. You asked me the last one about the building over on Washington Street.
Yes.
I met with Central Maine Power, and we cannot burn it standard because it's just too close to the lawns. I have reached out to DEP because there is a chance they may let us knock it down and burn it. I have not got an answer yet. Surprising state entities that don't call you back for 2 weeks.
I don't believe that at all, Bernard.
I did meet with a contractor who specializes in taking down buildings and hauling them off. And his price to do that and completely clean it up is $14,000.
Okay.
That includes taking it down, hauling it off, down.
Okay, that's good information. So that could also, just thinking out loud here, that could be another option to consider.
The other option might be is to use our own cans and our own excavator to do that.
Well, we do have the tools for it.
Certainly do.
Wild idea.
Just a thought.
All right. Anything else you want to share, Bernard?
I guess I'm going. When you get ready to talk to me, let me know.
Yep, we'll do. Thank you very much for your comments, Bernard.
So we did need to note that the estimate that you have, Bernard, you mentioned that the pricing was going to go up, or do we think if we did this, the pricing for your SCBA's will go down, or do we know? It's just a guess.
It's all going to go up.
My gut feeling is that it won't be any more than that, and probably some less.
Thank
Okay.
you.
All right. Thank you, Bernard. Thank you, Catherine.
Not to get into that whole conversation, but this is if need to purchase 20. What does Bernard say he needed? Did he say, Bernard, did you say 20?
Bernard says 20.
Okay. That's it. Thanks.
All right. One more comment from the audience, Heather.
I'm just trying to wrapping my brain around this here. So the projects that are listed under consideration, with the exception of the highway projects, are all items that the council has vetted and discussed multiple times and found to be worthy of funding based on the safety issues that are presented to our staff. So I'm wondering why at this point the council would not approve those projects to move forward and then reserve the remaining $121,826 and change for further discussion at another time, if that's how you wanted to proceed with that.
As I mentioned before, it's not going to be, by tabling this motion doesn't jeopardize anything else necessarily, and that's not the intention. The intention is to reconsider additional items that may be on here, or reconsidering the list, knowing now that we have these funds available for a much larger umbrella of coverage. That was all I was saying, to have that discussion for, because we're looking at it in a totally different light. Before, we were very limited, and that's why we only had those items. So if we just, for instance, if we decide that there's another item that's very worthy of having coverage, maybe we would look at these and say, let's try to do a balance. You know, it could be any number of scenarios. It's not making a comment on that at all. It's just reconsideration that we just table it for now, so that we may have time to consider other items that we can discuss.
I guess my point was that two of the items, specifically the CBA tanks and the bulletproof vests, were brought up as safety items for staff, and that to me those would have priority in getting them squared away and taken care of as soon as possible, especially based on the feedback from Chief Williams about the propensity for the SCBA units to break down and possibly cost more to fix, rather than if the council were going to proceed with that item, then to just go ahead and do that and get the units replaced.
Okay, thank you, Heather. Council, let's wrap up comments here, please.
Yeah, I was just going to kind of answer what she asked.
Yeah, go ahead, Larry.
I want more clarification on the bulletproof vest. That hasn't been provided yet. So my understanding was that those were being ordered or requested because of potential workman's comp concerns. Yet how many workman's comp issues have we had because somebody wears their gun around their belt instead of on their vest? So those type of things need to be answered before I would say yes to something. So I think that's why we're asking. Not necessarily we're eliminating everything. We're just saying, hey, let's make sure our focus is in the right direction. That's all I hear out of your comments, and
Plain and simple.
it's where I believe as well.
Anything else, Council? All right, so if the thoughts are to table this for discussion at a later date when we can flesh out some more details, we do have a current motion on the floor to adopt Resolution 2225. If the counselor who made that motion is willing to rescind the motion and entertain the motion to table, then we can act upon that.
I will rescind the motion to adopt 22-25.
Okay.
And make a motion that we table 22-25 for further discussion
At a later
at a
date.
future date.
Excellent.
Second.
All right, moved and seconded. Questions, comments about that, council? All right, can we get I think the next meeting might be a little too soon. Can we do the first meeting in April?
We definitely will have to, because if we're going to withdraw the SCBA from the loan with the Maine Municipal Bond Bank and fund it through the ARPA monies, we'll need to notify the bond bank. So
what can we be prepared for the next meeting to talk about this?
we can be.
Okay. So let's set up a discussion with the details for the next meeting. I would ask the council and anyone listening if they had ideas or things that they would like to have entertained or discussed that aren't on this list. If you pass it on to the town manager or myself or the deputy mayor, we can certainly get it to the town manager and have it included.
Yes, thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Any other questions, comments, council? Very well, hearing none, accessible. All those in favor of tabling resolution 22-25 to the next scheduled town meeting, please signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed, nay. Ayes have it. Resolution 22-25 will be tabled until the next scheduled meeting. So let's move on to number 8. There are no discussion items. So we will go to reports, and we will start with the audience. Anyone in the audience, questions or comments that'd like to bring it up? Doc.
Since I came, I may as well go forward.
Basking the sun while it shines, right?
Yeah. I'd like to start with one question or issue that I'm sure you've addressed in the past and probably is going to come up again. How do I come to get a water and sewer bill where the meter was read on 12/16 for a period from July until December, and I get a bill dated 2/11 and then get it the following Friday. Granted, we got 3 months to pay it, but there's a 49% increase in the water rate in there. I think that looking back, I basically looked over our bills that my wife and I do every month and pay on time. Fortunately, we're still able to do that. And turns out that we really only got 2 bills last year, 2. It raises an issue, do you have a functioning staff in this office and town office, Catherine? This issue has been coming up time and time again. Not only is it the water bill, that I get a 6-month bill for it, with an increase. And is this going to be going forward? And do you have anybody in the office that you can depend on besides Nicole, who's there day in and day out? You've had a revolving door in this office, for as long as I've been a counselor and before that. So, don't tell me that they're going for new jobs and better paying jobs. Then we're doing something wrong. And you're in charge, so you fix it. So, why don't you look at me when I'm speaking to you? You have a habit of doing that, taking your damn notes time and time again, that nobody pays attention to you. All right? The next thing is, you mentioned that you're going to let folks know that the town office is going to be down for a half an hour or an hour, and advertise it. Well, that's happening in 2 days. Where are you going to advertise it, Catherine? You know, if you had a sign on the goddamn town office out front to tell everybody what's going on, when it's going on, they would have an idea of that. You could post it. You know, people wouldn't have to, you know, question, you know, or miss meetings or miss important stuff. You know, as it is, you've done this for years. You know, the town office is closed on Wednesdays. Fine, all right? There are a lot of people that, from what I hear, have depended on going during the week, and Wednesday is one of their days that they can go. You know, now that you're closed on Wednesday, would it be possible to maybe consider Saturday morning hours, maybe even once a month, you know, to accommodate those that are working during the week? You know, to me, these things seem not unreasonable, you know, and, you know, I stayed away during the pandemic, and I've been on the meetings on Zoom from time to time. But, you know, it's the same thing over and over again, Catherine. And I am really, you know, having a difficult time with this. The other issue is we have borrowed, you know, over the past year, several $1 million that I know we've had, you know, some funds that we got back several years ago that we're paying out some of the loans for. But I noticed that in the budget, there's $1 million every year going forward for paving the roads, which certainly need it. You know, how is that going to be paid? You know, I assume it's going to be paid through taxes, you know, because that's the only way that you're going to raise the money. You know, at some point, you know, the backs of the people that are citizens of this town that have been here, I've been here 34 years. There are a lot of people that are here in this room that have been here longer than that and lived here all their life. You know, I don't know how long the people can bear tax increases, property tax increases, you know, raises of 49% in the water rate. You know, wouldn't it be more reasonable to say, listen, costs are going up, let's increase it 5% this year, maybe 5% the year after that. You know, that way people don't get hit all at once. So these are just points that I've accumulated over the past year and a half, sitting around because I'm retired doing nothing. You know, and I think that I want to stay in this town. I want to continue to be a part of this town. But the way you're running it is horrible. And you know what? I was a physician for 40 years, or maybe 39 years, actually. For 39 years practicing medicine. And at a certain point, I knew that I wasn't up to the task anymore because things had changed. The way people do things, the way physicians do things, new medications, new techniques that I wasn't familiar with. And at a certain point, I was smart enough to know I've had enough. So being good at your job is one thing. Knowing when you're not so good at your job anymore and knowing when to walk away is something else. I thank you for the floor. I'm done.
Thank you, Doc. Anyone else in the audience, something they want to speak to? Yes, Jim.
Just a couple of questions. Mike, let's say we woke up tomorrow morning and all the money that the town, and not just here, but we use this as an example, all the banks were closed. Not that that's happening anywhere around the world right now. But let's say that all of a sudden the banks started calling back money that places were borrowing. How much in debt really is the town? Do you have any idea?
I do not. Would you have a approximate number, Catherine?
Are we talking about the actual debt that the town has?
Yes.
Yes, we have that in the audit, and I can pull that right out for you now if you'd like. Or I can just show it to you after the meeting.
That would be fine.
Okay.
Well, yeah, that's okay. And the second, I guess that's it. It's kind of, well, okay. So I'm at the point in time of the year when I've been in and out of probably 98% of the businesses in the town because of something that's coming up this summer, right? And it's really been interesting this year because a lot of the business people are really asking the question, and I don't think it's anything in specific, just that the world is turning backwards right now. But the questions are, you know, where's Pittsfield going to be 5 or 10 years from now? And I guess that would be the question that you guys and gals, the council is responsible for in terms of, you know, is there a plan to say 5 years from now, we want to see all the plumbing, town plumbing done, you know, the water, the sewer, and everything, or we want to see all the roads paved, or we want to see a 20-story motel building out on Route 95. You know, what is it that where do we want the town? Because what's happening is different towns, different areas of the state, I think, from my perception, and some of the things that I'm involved in, different towns in different areas are really beginning to compete with each other to try to get people to move in. How are we going to increase taxes if we don't have more people move to town? How are we going to increase taxes if we don't have businesses? Well, maybe we don't want to be a town that has businesses. Maybe we want to be a town that has something else that is a money driver. So I know we've talked about it in the past, and we've talked about, and I don't want to lob snowballs at Heather over there, but when I was on the head of the planning board, and I don't know where that ever went, but we were talking about having the planning board and the council sit down and do some goal setting. And I'm not sure that that's ever happened, and if it has, I haven't seen those, and if it hasn't, I think right now, because of the turmoil that's going on, this is probably a good time to do it, because we can learn from the things that haven't worked and say, where do we want to be 5 or 10 years from now? The only other question I would add, not related to that little speech, unless you want my $5 back.
Wait till the cameras are off.
Okay, Catherine, is MCI, is the property at MCI, is that school property, so is that non-taxable?
Correct, yes.
Okay, that's,
There are a few items that are taxable, but the vast majority is not taxed.
because that's a pretty big chunk of change right
Oh,
there.
yeah, definitely.
You know, and they're going through some changes right now also. The kids are not coming from overseas, and it's getting pretty expensive. And, you know, as a previous school administrator, you know, it can be a real challenge. But let's give folks something else to look at here. Now, I don't know what that is. I mean, in my own mind, I have some ideas, but that's, I think, up for discussion. And again, I still like the idea of pulling some folks in now that that virus is kind of down a little bit, and we can actually sit in the same room and look at each other. And I still don't recognize anybody in this room anymore. I recognize we have masks on. Some of this looks better with masks, but that's a whole other thing. But, you know, to take a look at where we are and where we want to be 5, 10 years from now, and how we're going to get there.
Mr. Mayor, can I just answer a question?
Yes,
I'll be
briefly, please.
Very brief.
Yeah.
On the water sewer bills, we did apologize several times at the council meeting. We did utilize some meters because we were desperate to put meters in, and there were some issues with the old meters that we did install, which then did shut down the whole billing cycle and caused some issues. So that has been corrected, and we're working on that. And we do have dependable people that can work on that. The sign out front is a wonderful idea. It has been listed in the budget, but it has been scratched out from several budgets now when we get down at the end. Being closed on Wednesday was an idea of the town council, an excellent idea that has really helped the staff to concentrate on projects. And we can consider, another time that we could be open, like later on one night. We did that in one of my other communities. Saturday, I'm not sure that people would want to come here. They probably want to go to the transfer station, but that could happen. And I will provide the depth information after the meeting. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Catherine. Anyone else in the audience wish to speak? Yes, Heather.
I just kind of want to speak on a couple of things that both of these gentlemen brought up. Dan is referring to in early 2020, the council was talking about having joint meetings with the planning board, and we were going to have a community-driven type of format where we would gather ideas from the community and then settle on 3 main projects to work on between the council and the planning board to help move some projects forward. And we were all set, I think, to start setting dates and times and places to do that that would accommodate a large group of people to try and get more people from the community to do that. And I believe the very following meeting, COVID arrived and just the world changed. And so that's where that stayed, is that it's just kind of in the idea of the planning stage. Right now, I feel like the town is at the point where there's definitely energy to do some of that planning again, to do that 5 and 10 year community planning, not necessarily the budgetary part of the town, but the actual community planning. In 2019, I think, in October, there was a meeting, and we were both there at the library, of about 20 to 25 people. We met with Ann Ball from Main Street America program about starting a Main Street program here in Pittsfield. And that is also a community-driven, community development type of program that marries community interests, business interests, and municipal interests all together, funding a program to develop programs, spaces, community events that build within your community, as well as the spaces up and down your main street. And I've always said that for us, we kind of have to expand our idea of what our main street is, because as Catherine alluded to, we have so many non-profit type buildings in our main street that take up space, and businesses that take up space. We don't have the traditional shops and things that you see in a main street. So we need to kind of expand our idea, and maybe even the space that we think of as our main street, further up Route 100, further down Route 100, further out Somerset Ave, and on the side streets as well. So those are all things that I feel like there's a lot of things pointing in that direction to have that work start again. Specifically, Catherine mentioned meetings coming up and that the state has programming for funding some of these programs, and I think it would be really short-sighted if the town doesn't take advantage of that. Catherine, I'll go to the meeting on, did you say it was Thursday?
Thursday afternoon.
Yep. Let me know what time it is, and I'll make time to be there to participate in that.
Thank you.
I feel like the town has a lot of opportunities right now, and it really is going to require more people stepping up and stepping back into the community sphere to kind of push these programs forward. A lot of people in the last couple of years have taken a step back for a variety of reasons, to focus on family, stay away from people, and now it's we're getting to the point where we can kind of step forward again and step back into that. We need people to serve on the planning board. We need people to serve on the Economic Development Committee, I forget the name of it, regarding the Main Street program. We need people from the community to serve on those boards and serve on those committees in order to push these things forward. It's really difficult to go to the state and say, yeah, we want a new Main Street, we want a sidewalk, but we can't get any community members to serve on this committee that is supposed to have community members on it. And I would include the businesses in town in that as well, not just singular committee members or family members. The businesses in town need to step up and become part of this process of rebuilding our downtown and having a voice in where we're going to go in the next 5 years. That is a huge part of that, is having the businesses in town involved in that type of development. And with that, I'm going to get off my soapbox.
Can I jump on that too? Because
Very briefly, please.
Because
Yeah, I know it's going to be difficult for you.
I know, but what Heather just said, and that's what I heard this past few couple of weeks as I go into the, I mean, they're ready, but somebody's got to walk in the door and say, hi, my name is, I represent District 1, we're putting some things together, would you, hi, I'm the town manager, would you be willing to serve on, they are, the community is ready, they really are, and this is the one time in our lifetimes that we actually agree on something else.
No, we agreed on something.
I know, but the town is ready, but somebody's got to take that initiative. And yeah, I did. I stepped back for a while, and I have my reasons for that. But I think now's the time, and
Sounds like the mayor's gonna step it up.
Yep. Let me speak here for a moment. I was going to say I'm going to step out of the process that I like to keep everything on track. You have me for another 3 years. I'll be more than happy to work with you and get that going because I don't know, we probably touched base upon when I was here last time. I've always said that we need to kind of get the momentum going. So let's talk about it.
yeah, here's the scary one. I was talking to somebody the other day. He said, "You know what we need in this town? Okay, what do we need in this town? We need one of those things like they have up in Bangor where all the bands come and play down at the park." And I immediately ducked. Okay. Because, but there are people that have a lot of ideas out there. And
Yeah, I was going to say A for effort, C maybe for the idea. But anyway, so let's move along. Is there anybody on the Zoom call that'd like to speak or make comments? All right, very well. So let's go around the horn here, and I'll start with Councilor Hall. Anything you'd like to bring up, discuss?
Not tonight, no.
Very well. You're going to save it for a better time.
Yeah.
All right. Councilor Saucier?
I think there was a lot to tonight's meeting, but I think at the end of the day, a lot of the things that were talked about were just leadership. And we just got to have a direction and leadership. And I know there's reasons why we didn't get where we wanted to get, but it's time to pick it up. It's time to go, right? We need to get back on our horse and meet in person and have ideas and get these ideas going again. Because I mean, it's just COVID can be an excuse, and it's been an excuse for the last couple of years in different ways. And I know it's real, and I know it's affecting a lot of people's lives. But let's just get beyond that and try to get some stuff done. My other thing is financially, in my own personal life, it's scary spending money right now. Like, if you buy something today, it won't be worth that to 6 months from now, 8 months from now, 12. It's hard to make a good investment. So I'd say however we spend our money, we just got to be really sure that we just don't blow it unwisely, because it's just, you can't have 7.5% inflation and make a good investment. I think it's really hard to do that. So I just think we have to be cautious in how we spend it and be strategic. And I think tabling some of the stuff and having conversations is great, because haste makes waste. So I think we should talk about it and make sure we're not stepping on our toes. That's it.
All right, thank you. Councilor Craig Juster.
I'm just going to say thank you to Annalise for joining us for the second straight meeting, bringing this information, helping break this down. I know it's probably an interesting conversation to hear anyway, but no, and thank you to the members of the community that came in and joined us this evening, brought your opinions to some of the points that we need to hear, right? And kind of kick us in the butt and get us moving, which is good. So, thank you.
All right, thank you very much. Deputy Mayor Lodge Dice.
I have no report this evening.
I even called the deputy mayor. Nothing? I'm here to report. Thank you for you. Councilor Frost.
I just want to say I like the sewer and water report she did. Very nice. I like that. Yeah, good job. That was you to combine it all. Yeah, good job. All right.
All right, very good. Just a couple quick things I want to mention. First and foremost, I'd like everyone listening out there in TV land and here and to spread the word. April 21st. It's an out of sync election, very important for the council at large seat. I'd like to see this place packed to do that. I think we ought to consider, given the initial electrical issue we had in this meeting, kind of get this place wired to sound a little bit better than it is. Unfortunately, the pandemic changed some things. Much as I dislike that TV screen sitting on my desk, I think it's going to be here to stay. So I think if we're going to do that, we have to do it properly. Just something to consider. I understand that Colonel Wiley is not doing as well as we had hoped, and I understand that he may not be driving anymore. We had that issue there last year. I don't have anything to offer other than that. So my thoughts go out to the Colonel, because he's been a stalwart for some time, has been one of the biggest proponents of a performing arts center, if you will. I had the very pleasant opportunity to talk to Mr. Jack Lynch this past week and shared a couple cups of coffee, and mostly truth, but we probably told a few lies here and there. But one idea he has, the old Rite Aid building. I don't have the money to do so. Maybe someone out there that's listening that could consider that. I don't know what that's being used for, but I could see that as a performing arts or a theater of some type. It's just something I want to throw out there and let people start thinking about it. Whether it's practical or not, I don't know. I'm just the idea man. So one thing I want to follow up, Jen, I appreciate you bringing that up. It's too easy for us to concentrate on getting done what we need for this meeting, make sure the budget's done, let's prepare for the next meeting, losing that big picture part. And I know that's what planning board does. And I completely understand pandemic threw everybody in the tizzy. There are, people, businesses, relationships, finances, everything and anything. I just spent $580 on propane, which 2 years ago probably would have been $350. But I like to be warm and have warm food, so it's one of the necessary evils these days, unfortunately. So let's do this. Let's talk. Maybe we can catch up for coffee at our local Dunkin' Donuts establishment and start kicking around some ideas. I like the idea of going door to door. I think we have a council that would be willing to do that. Maybe a little bit at a time, maybe a couple doors a week. I don't know, just their neighbors, or we can make it a point here. And I like the idea of having the let's meet up at the library. Go to every single business in town. We're going to meet at this date, and we're going to talk about things. Let's talk about what you see where we are. Because I had mentioned that before when I came back on the council last year. During this pandemic, there's probably one city on earth that benefited because of this. Unfortunately, I don't want to say we benefit from a pandemic, but we have two buildings that we were trying to market for years that are filled, and they're state of the art. They're federally funded buildings. We now have 600-700 people that are working back in town. That the momentum from that should carry us far, high on the crest of that wave. And I agree, I don't think we have capitalized on that. I think the momentum is there. And like I said, it's just a matter of pushing it over the edge and letting that ball start roll like the snowball started building, gain momentum. So I'll challenge you, Jane. You hold on to that $5, but let's talk about this. Okay?
All right, I'll buy your
Coffee.
And a donut.
Oh, now you're asking a lot, okay.
And a donut, all I want.
Can I just, I forgot one of the things I was going to talk about. For the summer concert series this year, this is, I believe it's the 100th anniversary of Hathorne Park. And so one of the nights of the concert, as soon as Jane can get in touch with some of the family members, we're going to do something special for Hathorne Park that night. And we're trying to track down somebody also that might be related to Mr. Griffin, who is the music teacher in town, because that's who the gazebo is dedicated to. So if you have any ideas about any of those, we don't have a date yet because we're trying to find out when the families are going to be around, because they usually come up during the summer, like they did when we put the cupola there. So we're going to try to do something in the summer again. But 100 years for that park, that was, I believe, that was the first designated park in the town. And, that's another good way to kick something
All
off.
right, we'll look forward to that, Jen. Thank you very much for that. And you've done a fantastic job of getting that built up the way it has. So with that, I will look for a motion.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. We are adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Opposed?
Excel spreadsheet. You should be able, to, you know, if you have each column, road, sewer, and water, check off.
So because we tabled one, we don't sign it, right?
That is Excel, you may not have set up
Yes. You know, I don't know. It's a good question.
So I was getting at it, I know there's 6